my name is Beth Blacker, and I am the Chief of Chaos to Calm It, It's Just Stuff. We are a home organizing and move management service, and that means, yes, we do get rid of your stuff if you have a lot of stuff. And who here doesn't have a lot of stuff? You do have a lot, or you don't have a lot? You do, okay. Everybody has stuff, right? So it's always the question, where do you start? And that's what I try and encourage people to understand, that as emotional and physically demanding as this process can be for you, you have to start somewhere. And waiting too long can always be a problem. So my goal in the next 20 minutes or 19 and a half minutes that I have left is to encourage you to at least start somewhere. So we're going to start. But first, if you came by my table and my team lead here, Elle, we have Tootsie Rolls. And there's a story about the Tootsie Rolls. And the reason that I have Tootsie Rolls has to do with my grandmother. And so when people tell me, oh, you must not be very sentimental, you don't hold on to anything, I promise you that I am. I really, truly am. And the Tootsie Roll thing started because my grandmother claimed that she was allergic to chocolate. Never mind, Tootsie Rolls do have chocolate, she ate them. So she always had a bowl of them in her house, and she always had a bowl of peanut M&Ms for my grandfather, and he would sit there and hold them in his hand and play around with them like worry beads and whatnot. And my mom always had a bowl of Tootsie Rolls. I always had them in my house. Whenever I go to visit my kids, I bring Tootsie Rolls. It's like, it's a thing in our family. I have Tootsie Roll socks on. So, this is a picture of me and my father at my niece and nephew's graduations last year. That's actually my mother's gravestone, tombstone, and we do put Tootsie Rolls on her tombstone when we go to visit. And on my grandfather's, we put peanut M&Ms. So to the extent that when people say, well, you must not keep anything in my wallet, this is my wallet, I have, got to get it out of here, a Tootsie Roll. And if you were to come up and look at it, it is petrified. It is hard as a rock. I've had it in my wallet for 20 years since my mother passed away. It was the last Tootsie Roll that I found when I was cleaning out her car that we were selling. So I'm not saying you have to get rid of everything, but you have to have purpose and intention and a place to keep it, that it doesn't necessarily impact your life and make it difficult for you to live in your space. How many people still believe in facts? Good. Okay. Over 50% of Americans age 50 and older will move into a smaller house or transition to senior living. That's a lot of people, right? And the reasons: less maintenance, lower cost of living, health, proximity to family, and you want to be in an age-appropriate community. But what do you do with all of your stuff, right? It's a lot to think about, and even to consider the possibility that you're moving from 4,000 square feet maybe to 400, 500, 600 square feet in a senior living community. It's very hard, and I get it, and I empathize, I have great compassion, but I also know that if you're hiring a service like mine, that I have to be ruthless with you because you're not being ruthless enough with yourself. So I'm not going to be mean, I'm not going to yell at you, I'm going to gently guide you as much as I possibly can, along with any of my team members that might come in. But this is what we're dealing with in America for the most part, right? Here's what we've got to think about, okay? If everything is valuable, then nothing is valuable. Does that resonate with anybody? It should, because we put too much value and emphasis on our stuff. And that's just how we've been raised. But what do we really need in life? We need food, clothing, shelter, water, the ability to breathe, right? I need to be able to dance at least once a week. My friend Deborah is here and can attest to it. We love to go out and dance. But, the bottom line is we have too much stuff. We just do. So what do you got to be like? Let it go, right? We let it go. But why is it so hard? We have an emotional attachment. How many people can relate to that? Yeah, most everybody, right? We have more years behind than ahead. I'm going to be 63 in a couple of weeks, so trust me when I say I understand that it is hard to think back on all the years behind me and realize that, you know, I mean, God help this planet if I live to be another 63 years. Yeah, my family would not be happy about that. But it's hard because we are reminiscing. We're thinking about our past and all the things that are behind us. Maybe you don't care. That's okay. You might be angry. Maybe somebody passed away and so you're left with all the stuff to deal with, or you went through a divorce, whatever the reason may be. Guilt, though, that's the one that most people feel, that when somebody gives you something and you can't get rid of it because you feel guilty about it, you're not helping yourself. And so stop taking things from people. Just saying. I know those buy nothing pages on Facebook are really tempting, but think about it before you bring it into your house. And if somebody hands you something, just gently say, no, I really don't need this. But where or how do you even begin the process, right? That's why you're all here. What would you do if you died tomorrow? What would happen to all your stuff? You know your kids don't want it if you have kids, right? You've probably asked them. They don't want it. So you got to be really intentional and really deliberate as you continue to age and think about your stuff and what's going to happen to it. Because you can't take it with you, right? You just can't. The story I like to tell, right? My grandmother, I had two grandmothers, total opposite grandmothers. One of them was very organized, always had a place for everything. I definitely take after her. I also have ADHD, diagnosed very late in life. I'm certain she had ADHD, but was never diagnosed. The other grandmother literally was clutching $1 bills in her hand when she died. I am not kidding you. She really thought that she could take it with her. And we thought we were going to find all kinds of money hidden behind like things, and we didn't. So you got to let go of stuff like old photographs of people that you don't even know who they are, right? How many of you have those photos from like 1900, right? When my mother passed away, she had been the historian and archivist for all the relatives. And my father was paralyzed. He couldn't deal with it at all. So he made me and my sister go through everything. And we didn't know who any of the people were in most of those photographs. There were tens of thousands of photographs. But I did save many of them. I brought them. At the time, my father lived in Michigan. I was living in Florida. I had stuff shipped to Florida, paid my kids $5 an hour during winter break to go through all these photos and scan them. And then once they were scanned, I put them in garbage bags and they were going to go out in the garbage. And I said to my husband, I was married at the time, said to him, please do me a favor, take those 3 large garbage bags out to the curb, but you have to pick them up. Do not drag them because the bags will break. And then we will have photos of people we don't even know flying all over our neighborhood. He walks back in, 10 seconds later, babe, come outside. I'm like, oh my God, you did not pick up the bag, did you? Pictures were flying all over the neighborhood. I called it. Anything that's broken or damaged. I know a lot of people think, well, but it can still use it. Don't. Multiples. I had a client once, I counted 14 spatulas. How many spatulas do you think you really need? Maybe 2? Maybe? If you're really into culinary arts, maybe like the fish spatula that's different from the regular spatula. I have one of those because I went to culinary school. Old papers and magazines. I know a lot of people used to save Time magazine, Life magazine because of the covers, right? I mean, how many of us have come across those of, maybe when Kennedy was shot or MLK was assassinated, the Challenger burst into flames. I get it, I understand it's a memory, but it's not going to serve you at any point in your life. It really isn't. There's plenty of images like that now on the internet. And what happens to everything that when you do leave it in a box in your attic or garage or storage, you're never going to open it again, right? So what's the number one downside to not downsizing now? You are going to run out of time. I hate to break it to any of us in this room, but there are very few sure things in life. Death and taxes are pretty much it, right? And so do it now when you still have some of the emotional and physical energy to do it. Take it slow. You can set a timer. This is something that we recommend to people, especially people with ADHD. Set a timer for 20 minutes. See how much you can get done in those 20 minutes. And then take a break for 5 minutes, and if you can come back, go back and do more. But try not to do more than you can handle in one day, because it will overwhelm you, and you'll set yourself up for failure rather than success. And the whole point of this is to be set up for success, and what your version of decluttering and organizing success looks like, not what I tell you to do or some social media influencer tells you to do. Everybody's got to do it how it feels good to you. It's not my job to tell you what to do. It's my job to guide you. More of the downsides, a lot of people do get depressed. They just do. They get very anxious about the idea of downsizing. Some people lose sleep over it. They start to have memory loss because there's just too much in their visual field all the time that it starts to impact your capacity to remember anything. Stress, obviously, and you may run out of money and you won't be able to do it when you really can afford to do it. The upside to downsizing, if you can read this, people were created to be loved, things were created to be used. The reason why the world is in chaos is because things are being loved and people are being used, right? I mean, you can't even look at anything online or watch the news anymore without feeling that in this country. So I'm a Sherpa. That's how I define myself these days. I met somebody who does treks to Nepal and Patagonia, and I think what I do and all my other fellow organizers do, like Elle, and I see, is Karen still here? I don't see her anymore. Oh, over there. Wouldn't you agree? We're Sherpas. We're carrying the load for you, the burden for you, up the mountain, the proverbial mountain, and getting you to the top where you can finally breathe and see everything and feel lighter and feel more clear-headed. And why wouldn't you want that? Even if you're not moving, why wouldn't you want to feel clearer and freer of the burden that you've been carrying through your life? Because it is a burden. It is. You may love your stuff, but it's still a burden. So the upside, maybe you're able to travel more with less responsibility. I never want to own a house again. I absolutely don't even want to own a plant. I don't want to take care of a dog. I barely want to take care of myself. So I don't want that burden, that responsibility. So when you downsize and you release yourself of more of your stuff, you have less to take care of, right? You're going to save money and time, because you're not going to spend time looking for things and then going out and buying it again and again and again. You can draw down on your savings at a slower rate if you decide to move and declutter and get into a smaller space. That's just like a little real estate kind of plug. And the reason why you want to hire an organizer is because maybe you just don't have that expertise. We all go to doctors, maybe we have to hire a lawyer, we might use an accountant for our taxes. I will never do my own taxes because that would be a disaster. So I hire the expert that does it. And that means that when somebody's hiring us, nobody should judge anybody for hiring a professional organizer, because there's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt that we feel by having too much stuff in our lives. Maybe our family has told us that they won't come visit us anymore until we clear away the clutter. And why would you want that? Why would you want that negativity in your life? You want things to be lighter and freer and easier, and so it might just mean that you have to bring somebody in that can do it and help you do it. I can see for piles and piles and piles, right? There's the keep pile, right? We always want to talk about the keep pile. Then there's the toss pile, the garbage pile. The give pile to family and friends. One of the stories I like to tell is when my mother passed away, she had over 100 tablecloths, and some of them were stained and really not that attractive anymore, but the vast majority of them were still good, and I just didn't have the bandwidth at the time that we were sitting and going through everything in Michigan to make decisions about every single one of them. And my sister didn't entertain, I did, my brother didn't really want any either, so I took 75 tablecloths back with me to Florida. And when I was and I used quite a few of them through the years, so that was 2005. In 2015, I was going through a divorce, and I realized there was no way in the world I needed 75 tablecloths for the rest of my life. And I knew I was moving here and decided to have a purge the pantry party and gave every single I made food from my refrigerator and pantry and got rid of all the food that way. We drank a lot of the alcohol, I'm just gonna say. And I was getting divorced. Can I remind you of that? There was alcohol involved. But every single person that came got a tablecloth, because I decided after all those years of us sharing those family and friend events together, breaking bread together, through happy and sad times, that I wanted to still feel like I was going to be part of their table, their experiences together. So I would be there in spirit through them each having one of my tablecloths, and I do still get pictures when they use it around, especially around the holidays. So that makes me feel good about that. And you can consider that too, because then at least it's not just going into a landfill or to any donation center. It has a much more intentional and deliberate use moving forward. And then there's just the simple donate pile, right? And then there's the still not sure, I'm feeling guilty about this pile. And stop feeling guilty, because that is what's going to always trip you up and slow you down. So, think about it before you go into a particular cabinet or drawer. If there's anything in there that's going to be super triggering for you, super emotional, don't do that drawer that day. Wait till you're feeling a little bit better about it.
Guilt.
Yeah. So I added this slide in recently because a lot of people ask me why I do what I do. And I think these pictures kind of, especially with our senior clients, it represents why I do what I do. Because I really think that this is a service that is important. It's not just so I can make money. Trust me, this is hard work. It's physically and emotionally demanding every single day. And the stories that we hear sometimes are heartbreaking for us. So you have to go into this knowing that it's not easy for us either. We're not just there to make money. We're there to really provide a service that's going to hopefully create the space that you need for moving forward. This gentleman told me the story. Where was this? Was this in Broomfield? This was just in Broomfield a couple weeks ago. And this man came up to me, and I don't know how we got on the subject of Broadway shows, but suddenly we were talking about Broadway shows. And he decided as an adult, he wanted to start to learn to sing. And people had always told him he had a nice voice. So he started singing Broadway show tunes, and he asked me my favorite Broadway show tune. And my favorite all-time song is Corner of the Sky from Pippin. So if you ever like are in a trivia contest with me and are being asked what's my favorite song, Broadway song, that's it. And the reason is because if you know the lyrics, I'll refresh your memory if you don't. It's I've got to be where my spirit can run free, got to find my corner of the sky. And I feel like that is what we're all doing, should be doing on a daily basis, is thinking about as we're intentionally going through our days, where is your corner of the sky? Where are you happiest? And I am happiest when I am, well, not always happiest, but 99% of the time, I am really happy working with especially senior clients. I love the stories. I love hearing the stories. So the point of all of this is that you can cherish your stories, you can keep those stories, but it doesn't mean that you have to keep the physical objects. Because again, it becomes that burden that you don't want to continue to carry and take care of. I walked into my client's new house and she was there. And we looked at each other and she was a client of mine. But she was the caregiver for my client. And she was just so happy to see me helping this particular client. She's like, I was thinking about calling you and asking you if you could help them. And then she found out that actually Jewish Family Services here at the JCC did help that family. And so sometimes we can get support from the community if you don't have the funds. So don't ever think that you can't afford it, because we might be able to actually still help you. Find your low-hanging fruit. Allow yourself time to reminisce. If you need to keep an inventory, keep an inventory. Compromise with yourself and with a significant other if need be, or your family. Count your blessings most of all, right? Like, that's really important. And be generous if you can be. Donate if you can. The don'ts of downsizing: don't worry about the unknown. Don't put your stuff in storage. Don't ever put your stuff in storage. Mike, are you here? I don't think he's here. He loves when I say that, because I helped him clear out his storage. And don't get caught up in the minutia. Don't overvalue what you may want to sell, and don't do it all at once. But don't procrastinate, right? And then there are different ways to begin. You can contact a junk removal service. You can ask for volunteers, start gathering supplies. There are free shredding events everywhere throughout the year. There's lots of resources in our community. I'm happy to share those with you as well. There's even an app now that can do an online auction, but I know the struggle's real, so feel free to reach out. I have a stupid amount of energy, and I can help you figure out a place for everything and provide the compassion with no judgment. And you can ask us about our discount programs. We can help you try and figure out some bridge the gap loans if you need that kind of money. And remember, always edit your life ruthlessly. How do I bill? By the hour. And the reason for that is because if you do it by the project or the day, I feel like somebody gets the short end of the stick. Either we do because we work more hours, or the client does because we work less hours.
Okay, cool.
Do you have a general rule of thumb for documents that should be shredded versus documents that should be saved? Like, if my mom and dad died, I go through all old bills and bank stuff. And is there kind of a general rule or a time period if it's
It's 3 years for most, credit card, bank statements, tax returns, unless there was a sale involved, like property or a business. 3 years, yeah, that's what the IRS says. There is not going to be a lot of people to do audits moving forward, so I don't know how many audits are really going to get done. Just saying. I mean, we are where we are, people. Let's be real. But 7 years if you're in if you have medical records or legal records or financial records from a business, like a financial advisor or a mortgage lender, a lawyer. Yeah.
What do you charge?
What do we charge? The rates are usually between 60. I don't know who asked that. Sorry, between 65 and 85 an hour, but we will discount if you know, you just tell us your budget and I can always usually make it work.
Do you have other people working with you?
Yes, I have a team lead right here, Elle, and then I have a whole other team of people that I can call on when we have bigger jobs. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Do you do site visits to give clients an estimate?
I can do site visits if you are in like the immediate Boulder area. We do cover the entire Front Range, and I also travel out of state, so I tend to do virtual consults first, and then if we feel there's a need to come in person, then I can do that.
Another question here?
And the virtual consults are free, and if you really need me to come in person, I can always make it work for free as well. I just would spend my entire days just doing consults if all I did was ones in person. So,
Beth,
hi Lynn.
collections,
Yes,
sets of stuff
yes.
that I've inherited over time and collected myself, by the way. Do you have resources for, for selling of, I've got 5 bookcases
Yeah.
full of books of all.
Yeah, I ran through my slides too slowly in the beginning, so I apologize, but there are lots of different ways that you can get rid of collections. There are people locally here who will do estate sales. I personally don't like getting involved in that. That's a whole separate business. But there's also online apps now. One of them is called Max Sold. And you can take a picture and their AI technology will give a description and a suggested price, and then you can just put on an online auction and then have people come pick up stuff.
Join me in thanking Beth.
Thank you.
Very